right, 2023 Iowa High School Boys Coaches Roundtable. Welcome back to some of you. Welcome to some of you. Blake, I guess you're going to have to at least one baptism by fire today.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time we've never done any prep before a podcast, so this will be good.
I wouldn't say it the first time.
Yeah, what should we do here?
No, I said you're baptism by fire. There's one person here that deserves the first question.
Go. You gave a little hint earlier, Leland. Do you know what first question's coming?
I don't.
So he's only listened. Yeah, he listened like halfway through.
Fair.
All right, first question is always on every podcast, is this the first pod you've ever been on?
No.
All right, so promote your previous one.
I've been on an educational podcast about race, but I don't even know what the name of it as, so I can't really promote it.
Oh, no. Well, okay, so we should start here.
Second pod.
So let's go a little round table and introduce everybody. We got Marcus Varnum over here, coach of the Ankeny Hawks. We got Ryan Sander of the Waukee. Are you still the Warriors? Blake Siebers, former Johnson Dragon, but Kick It Forward co-host, my good friend as well. Leland Shipper, North Polar Bears. What are the Wolves. Carlos Aceby with the Waukee Northwest Wolves. We prepared for this. And then you've got the Centennial Jaguars with Brian Duax. And then, of course, Jimmy Frizzell, the Johnson Dragon himself.
El Presidente.
El Presidente as well, yeah. So, Leland, we're really happy to have you here. Everybody else here is at least a second-timer. Do we have any third-timers? Carlos, maybe, yeah. Carlito's definitely a third-timer. So we appreciate you guys all coming back. What we like to do usually to start is just give you what we'll call it a 60 seconds to 90 seconds at most to just give us a little outlook on your season. You can touch on last season, but, the only way is to look forward, right? So, Marcus, let's start with you, my friend. Still the youngest member of the squad.
Still the youngest.
Will always be.
Yeah.
But,
Next
Leland,
year,
what
we'll
about
see.
you?
I don't know.
I'm about 3 or 4 years younger.
Yeah.
Went through Ankeny, right?
Okay, I was going to say, just based on the hair, I'm going to go with Marcus as younger. Look at it.
Hey, you don't know what's going on over here.
About that length. So.
Yeah, well, actually, long story, but now, probably 15 years ago, something like that, I was ball boying at Ankeny. We were at the Northwest Middle School, and I was watching Leland play, and I think you got a concussion that game, actually.
Nice.
And you had hair pretty long like this,
Yeah.
so yeah. There's a throwback
Glad I
there.
could be your inspiration for your
You
hair.
were, yeah, absolutely. And this is why I'm here
season,
today.
you're
So
gonna go with
yep.
Full circle.
Yeah, full circle.
That's a
so,
good plug for our YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll get in here
Well done,
and
Blake.
plug that. Subscribe, get YouTube, Kick It Forward. You can see what we're talking about.
That's right. All right,
Yeah,
Marcus,
yeah.
tell us about the squad.
And ad.
Yeah, so this year we're coming back after graduating 10 seniors on varsity. So it'll be a new squad, but we're excited about the group that we got. Some really solid pieces that can play soccer pretty great. So we're excited about that. But we also know that we got some tight competition around this table sitting here. So it'll be a good year. But yeah, different from last year for sure, to say the least, I'd say.
Mr. Sander.
Yeah, we graduated 7 starters, so we're a bit young. Have 2 returners coming back. So it's a bit of a rebuild year, and looking forward to, again, like Marcus, what we have coming up. And it's going to definitely be different, like you said, but different in a good way, I think, too. So some new energy and things like that for our team. And so ready to work hard. Obviously, everybody's coming to open gyms and things like that now. So we've got 98 kids signed up, so it's something to manage already.
Marcus, how many?
Right around 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blake, tell me a little bit about your program. Oh, sorry. Leland.
So this is year 2 at North for me. So last year was definitely a bit of a learning curve, just getting in and kind of building the program up a little bit. Dealt with a ton of ineligibility stuff year 1. So that's been a big focus of mine. Program numbers are up to 85 probably by the time we start. So excitement's definitely there. It's just putting it all together. I think I'm really proud of what we've done with eligibility stuff this year. So we're looking at maybe 1 or 2 guys in our varsity core that aren't eligible compared to last year. It was about 40% of our team. We were struggling. So it should be a better year. We had 2 wins last year, and I don't think we can do worse than that. And I think
Well, technically you can.
technically we can. I don't think we will. I fully
No, I've seen your squad.
anticipate-
Well, I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about like kind of stuff you just sort of touched on. I think we'll circle back to that because I think it probably resonates with everybody, but mostly with you. Carlos.
This will be good.
Yeah, he's gonna tell us all about the squad.
Yeah.
How many? Do we have a word
Graduated some
limit?
people. What's that?
Do we have a word limit on you?
Time limit, I think. We graduated some people, of course, as most programs do. We'll expect some new blood in the mix at some point, but not sure what that's going to entail. Same approach, really, as every year. We just go in and wait till spring break to see what we have, and then the week after is when we'll get the rest of the boys back after spring break. So we'll see how it goes.
What are your numbers like? Since do you know yet?
We have 124 right now. There's another kid coming in, but who knows?
Maybe 125.
Yeah, we might get to 130 maybe. By the time we start, we'll add some kids because everybody wants to play once they see their buddies playing.
That's big numbers out of Waukegan total. That's
Yeah.
wow. Okay, and you have how many,
Like 60.
Mr. Duax?
We're sitting right around 70.
Okay.
So, like everybody else, we graduated a bunch. I do bring back a decent core. We should be really exciting going forward, but the goal this year will be keeping the ball out of our net. So,
Sean Dysash.
that's yeah. We lost our entire back line basically, so we'll be replacing that.
There may be nobody that wins a game this year, according to these
That
guys.
sounds
Jeez,
like it.
everybody's young and new, and like
Oh, hold on.
pretty.
Hold on, we've got one more.
Yeah. All right. Our numbers it checked in today was around 145. It capped at 152. But obviously the emails about need to be registered. Grades have obviously been posted. That's come out. So a couple of deterrent factors on the deck for players to decide in the next 3 weeks. Hopefully we get it down to something a little more manageable. But right now we've eclipsed a record of about 150, 145. So trying to work with that, some new things. You guys all are aware we lost a lot last year, right? Kind of our power, so to speak, is what we've kind of been talking about. So I do feel good with what we return, obviously what we have. There's a lot of talent to dissect and decipher throughout all that. So we'll just see, right? We've had to cancel some open gyms as they've been inoperable as far as numbers wise. So we're waiting for the weather to get warm to see where we're at. So.
Ben, do you remember sitting here last year? Jimmy was like, "We're good. We're gonna be good." So it's
I was
interesting.
I'm doing my absolute best not to.
Well, hold on. Okay, so
Poke the bear
we're
right now.
You haven't made it 5 minutes. We're already
okay.
into it.
So let's just be clear. We won't get out coached. Let's start there, right?
Yeah, that's fair. I just want to know if you're going to
Looking
make
around
another
this
bet with
table
me.
here.
That's all I'm
Credit to
asking.
Tim Stork
That's all
for
I'm
that one,
asking.
by the way. Credit to Tim Stork.
Yeah, it would be well equipped with Nike gear.
Yes.
So you're not. We won't take another bet this year. Is this
No, we can't. We shouldn't.
okay? That's
My
fair.
crystal ball isn't that clear.
That's fair. Then we will not. I'm still waiting to collect on last year. Blake, I'm sure you've got one sitting in the chamber, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
I always like this. It's interesting because there's people on the outside of things that don't see what's going on. So I thought it was interesting last time in the last few years. First thing, because you guys have always said as a group, usually soccer balls are like one of the first things you guys would change. I think that's been fixed and changed. I think, right? All right. Again.
Presidente.
All right. So we got new soccer balls for high school soccer. So that's
So maybe we'll let El Presidente talk about that, and then ask your question.
So as far as like establishing a new soccer ball, that hasn't been totally decided yet. What
You said
what has been decided is we are not doing the T5000s. Each host site for Substate will be able to provide their own NFHS certified soccer ball. And the state association is looking at providing, I believe they said select numero 10s, something around select for the state tournament. So the good news is we are done as far as the boys' sides go with the T5000s or 500s, whatever they are. So
general consensus here.
Hooray!
Yeah. Yeah.
There's going to be unbelievable soccer being played then, Ben. No excuses now.
Nobody's gonna step
Just
on a ball
wait.
and trip.
Yeah.
We gotta do something with the grass.
Yeah.
We discussed that as well, and they're going to lower their blades. That's wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be flood, and we'll play on turf.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's talk about this. Carlos, I mean, this is something that's a pretty neutral topic. Could you grab the microphone, please? Talk about the grass. I'm talking about this because as the old hat here, you've been doing this, and you grew up playing in like some of the worst old
Barrios.
footballs. Well, you played at the old Dowling Stadium, the old Valley Stadium. I mean, those weren't exactly pristine.
No, they were not.
So, talk about them in comparison with what you're doing today and the issue.
Arguably the best facility, I think, in the state, which is cool. Where you guys play now?
Johnson.
Arguably.
We like playing on your turf last year. That was cool.
It's new, so that helps.
Yeah.
The newer, the better.
Too blue?
Might be too blue, yeah. It's all right. You did fine there. Jim.
You guys wanted to come back. I didn't get it.
Yeah. You did fine.
So we're talking facilities, and for the most part, I mean, you can't really complain. The width of the field is probably the one area that usually gets us, but I mean, really, when it comes to facilities and fields, it's the same for both teams. So has it improved? Yes. A lot more field turf across the board. County's not bad, although the pitch wasn't the greatest last year, but
A little thick.
yeah, a little thick and it just not as playable as you would want. But the grand scheme of things, it's not so much the facilities; it's other things that we really have to look at. But
Sure.
yeah, it's way better than many years ago. That's for sure.
So, just gonna flip it on it. And Leland, talk about the facilities. I've coached at least one or two sessions at the Grubb Stadium over there on North High's campus. Super cool stadium, but the pitch isn't exactly in pristine condition. So talk about how you guys handle that and like training in a place like that. But then when you go to like, I don't know if you go out to Northwest, but I know you go to some of these guys and all of them play on turf. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a solution for it. Like, there is no, I mean, so our practice field's right off 2nd Avenue. It's worse than the game field. I really hesitate to criticize Grubb because, like, it's such a part of the North Side community. So when I was at Lincoln, I was pro building this new DMPS community stadium just as an option. And now that I'm at North and realize just how much, like, energy there is around their own stadium and, like, the amount of work that went into getting it, it is still a really cool thing for the community. So I'm not as excited now about this community stadium. Also, early indications show like we might get to play 2 or 3 of our games per season on it. So it really isn't a solution for us. So it is rough, right? We probably had more kids get injured playing at our home field than anything else throughout the season, just like falling off the side into the like turf concrete football area and stuff. So it's rough, but like we figured it out last year. We're making the practice field work, trying to find ways. Ankeny's helping us out a little bit during preseason, helping us get some time on their turf just so we can get early practices in. Otherwise, we'll probably be inside a lot of spring break and even the week after.
So what's it like when you guys go to one of these other places and you get to play in some of these other facilities? What's it like for the boys?
Kids are excited about it, but it's totally, I mean, the area of the field is nearly twice as big as our home field, like when you actually calculate it out. So it's a totally different thing. There's a little bit of like playing to home field advantage though. Like we talk about the tactics of our own home field, make some people not want to come to us, but like within DMPS, we have to play that a little bit and take some strategy from it. So
Cool. No more in the chamber seats?
I was going to say, like, more room, Leland. Let's get a couple more mini pitches at Birdland, and then they could train futsal-wise.
we love playing with the mini pitch. Like the mini pitch is a huge thing for us. It really is. Yeah.
That's great.
So here's I would just ask Ben, like, so we talked about field. Is there anything else you guys as coaches would want to change in the high school soccer experience for players, coaches?
We've talked about subs before, haven't we? What else have we talked
Clock
about?
has always been one. They've
Lengthen the season.
Okay, so you have to talk into the microphone.
Lengthen the season.
Can you expand on that, please,
Sure.
Carlos? I'm sorry, Brian.
Sure. I mean, there's weeks where we're playing 3 to 4 games in a 7-day span.
Yeah.
That's not good on anybody's body. And that goes on pretty consistently for 8 weeks, 10 weeks. You know, towards the end, sometimes it becomes a battle of attrition.
So who schedules those games? Like, because I don't know the answer. Is it?
Scheduling now?
Was that the association? Or is it team by team? How does that work? And like also, I know in the past we've talked about some teams like to schedule more games versus less games. What
Aziz for sure. Let's just call it like it is.
I just told Aziz that I would stick up for him. And so I'm going to say that Aziz plays some tournaments. That's how he gets more games. He likes to do that. He's got a big squad.
But that was for Sander, for rankings, right? I think that's what we talked about. And you guys have changed the rankings, so now I don't know the answer. Can we change the schedule a little bit so they play less, or is that still an issue? That's a question for everybody, 'cause we don't know the answer.
Marcus?
I'm looking to press
Okay,
here.
let's
Yeah,
talk to
go
Jim.
on.
Jim,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah, obviously there's been a strong push to expand the season, whether that is a week longer in the summer. I think everybody would, I guess, agree to that, especially when March 13th doesn't always provide the best weather, so to speak. A lot of us are on spring break, which is a huge, huge thorn in our sides, right? So our official start date is March 13th. Our first game date is 3/27, 3/28, right? Obviously, that first week is a wash, and then you're looking at, 10 days before your first game? And you're cramming 17 games into 6 weeks. If weather cooperates, it's really, really hard, as a lot of people experienced last year, to reschedule in the event that something gets canceled. And the rankings don't factor that in, right? So obviously we could all use a week or two, I think, at the end of our season. It's obviously something we've discussed as association, as advisory committee to the association. It's obviously been tabled, but it's something that they have on their radar. So
Well, now that the girls are coupled with the guys, there is an extra week,
Yeah.
correct?
What would happen if all of you guys just said, we're not going to schedule any games? Could you guys all just kind of go and just get into that and just say, hey, we're not going to schedule anything, and let people that want to do it? Would that work or not?
You have to start factoring in that games are what give the players the recognition from a scoring standpoint, accolades, playing against teams that maybe you don't normally play against. So then there's a little bit of that in terms of rankings, possibly if you're going east versus west side of the state. There's a lot of permutations to it. Unfortunately, you can do that on your own. So you could say, we're just not going to schedule a lot of games. We're not going to schedule both tournaments. We don't want to do that. But you do have to kind of build in a little bit mental for your players too, because when you get to the state tournament, you're playing 3 games possibly in 5 days.
So it's sort of a
You can't
coach
baby them
decision.
necessarily. It's a coach. It's, for the most part, it is. Now, there's some teams that are getting scheduled 13 games already. I don't know who those teams are. We're not doing.
Is there a
Metro,
minimum?
we're not
Is there a
getting-
minimum amount of games you're required to play?
No.
So you could just
Maximum, there's no minimum.
schedule no games and go to the state tournament, like the sub-state in theory. Well, little idea for you guys out
The
there.
conference is going to schedule your games, so you're going to have something.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know. This is my favorite thing about state tournaments. That you could just you could go 0 for, and then you get in the sub-state and just go and win them all. That's the best part.
Make it exciting.
Exactly. Okay, so then.
What do you guys love about high school soccer? So we talked about what you changed. Sorry, Ben, jumping
No,
in. But what do you
please.
guys, let's just go around the table.
Yeah.
Sandra, you've been super quiet. So you get
Let's
the
start
first
with
one.
him.
Why are you doing this? What do you like about it? And talking in the microphone too, please.
Thank you. I love it. It's kind of a fast and furious season, to be honest with you. It's you get your guys in. You don't really get to handpick them like in club soccer and things like that. You've got to mold them as quickly as possible into a system that works for you. And at the end of the day, you see what you get. And again, you go to the tournament and stuff like that. I also think it's really cool that all these kids in club soccer, obviously, they don't get to play in front of a lot of their peers. They don't come to those games and things like that, sit in the stands, and other, their peers and coaches and teachers and stuff like that come out and watch the games and stuff like that. So it's fun to play in front of all those people. So I think it's one of the biggest things for me. So.
Carlos, the mic's still in front of you, so why don't you do it well? Yeah, thanks.
Well, it's hot.
Yeah.
So exactly what Ryan said, and then I would add high school soccer kind of mirrors college soccer to a certain degree, in that winning is really paramount. Like, you want to develop players in the process, you want to develop your team, but at the same time you're like, we got to win. Like, winning's important, and it's not that that's the end all be all, but at the same time you're playing to win the game. You're playing to win every game that you can, because that's going to help you, but it's also going to lead to generally a good outcome in the end of the season, hopefully.
For me, so I'm a teacher first, so it's definitely about the academic side and helping kids secure a secure future. And then it's just about having fun too. Like, I think thing I'm most proud about for my first year is the amount of just joy that our team had and experienced. And the fact that 100% of the guys are back this year that were with us last year, which hasn't been the case in all DMPS programs over the last few years. So I'm just really proud of the culture we're creating and the path forward a lot of kids are getting.
That's great. Brian?
I think it's a little bit of everything that everybody said. Atmosphere is always really cool, especially when you get to like the sub-state final, or like last year our Pack the Pitch game with us and Marcus. I think there was almost 3,000 people at that
Something
game.
like that, yeah.
There's no club game that's ever going to come anywhere close to that. The atmosphere is really cool. Helping these young kids get to that next level is a big reason why I do it, helping them become good young men.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on everything. It's just a culmination of things. It's a blast, right? These kids have a lot of fun playing with the kids they walk the hallways with every day. The environment is big. It definitely emulates the collegiate game, like I said. And then I think the other thing is the media exposure is what the kids really like as well. And some of the news outlets, and then obviously the paper will latch onto this. You guys do a very good job as well. Any exposure our kids can get, I think they kind of relish that. So.
Last and certainly least, no, I always thought that it was kind of cool that it's kind of like playing for your country when you're playing for your high school. It's similar, like you have your club team for sure that you have throughout the year, but then that little bit of playing for your city, playing for your country feel is kind of replicated there. So I always loved that. I was a big Ankeny guy. I was going to the basketball, football games, but then when you got to either go to a soccer game for the high school or start to play in those high school games, it was super meaningful. And you wear the crest on your chest, and you get to kind of rep the school that you're going to, and you're walking the halls with these guys, and you get the media stuff, and you get the excitement in the air and everything like that, the competition. I think it all just makes it just that much more exciting, that much more fun. 3 months of just rock and roll.
Okay, so then I don't know if it's like the big news, but it's sort of big news, and none of you are directly affected by it, but the class change, right? So we've expanded from 3 to 4 classes. We were supposed to have the Urbandale coach here and also the Bondurant coach here, but they bailed on us. And
Shout out to Darbs.
yeah, sorry guys, sorry. But so I think it's interesting for some of them how they have, essentially, like in Urbandale's example, they've gone from being a small 3A school to a big 3A school, but then Bondurant being like a big 3A school is now just like it's a 3A school. So I know for you guys, it doesn't directly affect you, and it was amazing to me to look at the actual enrollment for everyone. Like I'm in my head, I'm thinking like Ottumwa, for example, is like not that big. They're the 12th biggest school in the state. And I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. Or I don't know how large North is, but I mean, you're close to one of those. Like you're in the top, definitely top 20 in size.
We're fourth smallest now.
Is that true?
Are
you really gonna call me out on this?
We're-
I haven't pulled up.
When it first came out, I was hopeful we were going to be close to the cut. And
Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. So then talk about that.
We're still a large school, but yeah.
Okay. So if you're the 4th smallest large school,
Yeah.
Talk about like what would that have done to you guys? How much of that would change the program?
Yeah, so Hoover is like within the DMPS
Right,
schools,
exactly.
right? Like, yeah, Hoover is the benefit from it in the metro, DMPS schools. And so it'll be interesting. Like, I was a little disappointed. I don't think it'll change that much for us in sub-state, but it would have been super nice to have been in that group with Hoover to bump down. But yeah, it definitely, there's some smaller schools that will no longer be in our sub-state. It just makes our sub-state a little bit harder probably for us.
So football has gone free and reduced lunch. So maybe that's like the better. I just thought of that right now, Ben.
Good job.
Which I don't even know. Again, there goes our prep before. So football has gone, correct?
why you don't do it.
Free and reduced lunch affects what class you're in, I believe. So I guess if that was the case, it wouldn't affect any of you guys otherwise, except for Leland. So there goes that question. But yeah, go ahead, talk about it a little.
That, and then like what like would that be a positive effect on your team?
I think it would be a good effect. I think that there's every reason to look at like the data nationwide to say that it makes a lot of sense to consider that variable. It's as good of an indicator as class size as far as success in athletics. It just is the socioeconomics of access to club soccer is the number one driver of that. But I don't know. Like, so I was at Lincoln for 5 years as the assistant coach as we were kind of building. And we were starting to compete with every metro team there for a while. So it would have there's that little bit of, I don't want to not get the chance to play the suburb schools and have a chance to do something really cool for our metro teams. I mean, Hoover and East last year were competing with everybody. So like part of me doesn't want that, but I think at the end of the day, it makes sense to do it and it would just become the new norm and everyone would get comfortable with it pretty quick.
What about you big schools? What do you think? So I guess we got some of the bigger ones here, don't we? Nothing?
Not gonna really affect. Unfortunately.
I mean, we'll feel a little bit, but it's not anything that I don't think is completely foreign territory.
Does it affect your scheduling? As you
Um,
guys schedule and whatnot? Because that may be more of an impact than anything.
Well, honestly, if you ask me that and I say, well, if I could change our schedule, no one's going to change it. Like, you reach out to anyone right now, everyone's schedule is just absolutely booked. And you try to add a game.
Well,
not
yeah,
gonna
the season
happen.
starts in like a couple weeks.
Yeah, well, you asked me that 2 months ago, it would have been the same thing. But it's just, I think it's just it's a good thing to have 4A. I think just for maybe the tiers down. I don't think that 4A for Ankeny or for Centennial or for Waukees or Johnston, I don't know if there's a whole lot of a massive factor, massive change, I'd say.
So I think the feedback we got was the smaller schools hopefully get more kids to play that maybe don't have success, so kids actually get results and they come back.
There's a
Yeah, go ahead, Sander.
No, you're fine. That's
Do you-
it. I just said they just want to become more competitive, and they should, right? Within the groups that they play in, so the classes they play in. So I think it's a good thing for everybody.
Is there any? So last year, a topic was the ability to enroll, the open enrollment rule, which has now become obviously a little more controversial politically, but we won't go there. But instead, I just am curious. Does that ever come into effect? Like if a kid's in Waukee and is like, 3A school, like I'm on the bubble, like I should just like move to Adel or open enroll just down the street in Adel or wherever. Like do you guys see that one way or the other, or is it mostly the other way where we hear the complaint that some schools are, poaching other students from other schools? No comments.
Centennial has no open enrollment, so I get to do nothing.
Pass for Brian Duax. Anyone else?
So Ryan, Carlos, let's talk about this. We talked about it last year. Northwest has the super nice facilities. Waukee has
Also very super nice facilities, just like 5 years younger.
so
older.
remember
Older. Sorry.
Yeah, it's quite a bit older.
Okay, 15
So
years
remember,
older?
but we talked about
How much older?
So we talked about it last year, though. One of the concerns was, or 2 years ago, whenever you guys split, I don't know how long ago that was. What have you guys seen, I guess, from both sides of it?
I would say this is probably the most diverse team that I've ever had, I guess, in Waukee. So we have quite a range of, as far as economical type stuff too. Like there were kids that showed up in Crocs to open gyms, stuff like that, because that's the only pairs of shoes they had. And so we had to get those guys shoes, and we give the guys practice jerseys all the time and things like that, practice shirts and stuff like that. And it's not that it doesn't go on everywhere. It was a lot more than what I was used to when we were combined and things like that. And maybe we just didn't see it as much. But it's definitely different for me, and I enjoy it, I guess. The guys, you know, they love to be there and things like that, and that's why we have the numbers we do and things like that too. So it's been a good thing for sure. So all the guys like you, I'm sure, work really hard and love to be there, and that's what they look forward to, and we look forward to having them too. So it's more than just the soccer experience, it's that team, it's everything else that goes into it as well.
When it comes to open enrollment, I'm fairly oblivious to all of it, to be honest with you. I mean, years ago, there was kids that were moving, not because of open enrollment, but they would consider moving from the different state to our state. Academically, it was better for them. You'd meet with these kids, they'd have decent resume, and it's like, you get excited about them, and then it's like, doesn't happen, doesn't materialize. So I'd rather spend my time elsewhere, quite honestly.
It's fair, I guess.
Okay.
I think for us, I think it was probably like when Ankeny split too. You saw most of that happening before parents moving and things like that as far as where they want to go. But right now, I don't see it.
So now you guys are both, I mean, Ankeny's pretty much done. Nobody's going anywhere, moving, just getting one high school and then,
For soccer, no.
okay.
For other sports, absolutely.
Waukee, same thing, like it's done now. Everybody's pretty much settled in, soccer-wise.
I would think so.
Yeah.
When's Johnson gonna have a second high school?
We need a first state championship for.
Okay, so from this, the consensus I'm hearing here that the open enrollment thing is like it's a mute point. Like,
From a DMPS perspective, it's still not a mute point. Like there's a constant tension that kids could leave Des Moines schools. Des Moines enrollment overall is down, so it's also like the thing you're not supposed to say out loud right now, but definitely are losing kids to suburb schools pretty regularly. When I came into North, there was the exodus from like Lincoln and North to East, and we lost a couple kids. We lost a good player to Johnston, right? And I don't think, like, honestly, it's not a poaching situation. I don't even like to categorize that. It's mostly families and, like, for their own reasons looking elsewhere. So that's the thing. Like, it's a little weird. Like, you get kids like good player that's at Johnston's younger brother's at North right now, and you feel like you got like a year to prove that your program's valid spot for him to be. Otherwise, kids look to leave, and so that it adds like an extra layer of tension to that. And I personally don't judge that group of guys that went to East because they're trying to get together with a team that can do it out of Des Moines, and I actually respected that to some degree. But it's just a unique thing about being as a Des Moines coach position for sure.
how do you affect that?
I think getting kids to buy into what you're doing. I think for me, I've tried to approach it from a classroom point of view. Like if we can convince kids that our program's special outside of just soccer, and then get them to have a ton of fun while they're playing soccer, I think we can get families to buy into what we're doing. And that's a lot of what I've been doing this semester, is trying to outreach to families and kind of explain the academic side that we're trying to achieve. And then, yeah, I mean, to be honest, at some point you got to win games. So the 2-win season we had last season, I was pretty sure I was losing some guys this season. So the fact that we didn't is really cool. But now it's kind of like there's a couple sophomore juniors that have a lot of talent that if we don't win some more games this season, I fully expect a couple of them to jump ship. So
Your boys definitely have fun.
yeah, they love it. And but there's some guys, I mean, I've got some players that 100% should be looking at college soccer. So being on a 2-win team doesn't suit that. And
Sure.
that's reality.
These guys are going to poach them, so be careful.
I'm not going to say any of their names or numbers.
But I think the reality too, you mentioned the family piece, but then it's also like the students are so interconnected because of the abilities for social media and just yeah, I mean, because of social media. So it's like, I'm not recruiting a player, but like Blake's recruiting him for me. One of my players is recruiting for me because they're just, and not for me, just because they're like, yo, you're my bro, come play with me, right? Like that's how these kids work these days. They just we were talking a little bit about the.
Use their facilities.
Yeah, right.
Say that again.
Why do you think Marcus was letting them use their facilities?
Long play here, Leland. yeah. Taking notes. Yeah. Yeah. You saw right through my play there, Ryan.
Okay, so let's.
Huckleberry.
What are some other challenges facing the game right now? I know, like, what else is highlighted to you guys? Is the reffing thing a thing?
So we sat in a meeting today with a school that was told they're going to have to reschedule some of their games because they literally will not have referees.
Does anybody run into that, or is that just a?
That I don't think that's a discussion for this table, or at least an issue for this table. We have struggled to find referees for like our lower level games. That's always going to be an issue, and those are usually just 2-man shows regardless. One thing that has been discussed is last year we had 3 classes. There was a 3A sub-state quarterfinal match that had referees bail. And there was a very controversial PK call that swung in the favor of one team. And one of the coaches was very upset, and rightfully so, that it was a postseason game that didn't have the adequate number of officials. Right? So the officiating crisis is still a real thing. One thing we have discussed, and it's obviously been tabled for a later date, is maybe narrowing our postseasons down to just 32 teams in each class, if that can help. And that way you just have semifinals and then finals. Obviously that takes away the Cinderella run from some teams. That's still an option.
My dream, Jim.
Yeah, that is your dream, huh? Okay, but, well, to sleep a chance to dream.
Continue,
I don't know what that means, but anyway, it's still an issue. Referees is still always something being brought up. I don't think our schools necessarily struggle. There's a lot of good referees in the area that tend to hop in our games, but statewide, it's kind of an issue. So,
Any ideas on how to promote refereeing?
Well, I've got one.
Okay.
One of our friends, who is an experienced, knowledgeable soccer guy, was unable to become a high school soccer referee because he didn't submit his availability until, quote, too late. So I think that's a association piece where a local person who is knowledgeable about soccer, played at a pretty good level, wants to referee high school soccer, and because he didn't get his official certificate and doesn't have the experience, he can't referee games.
When he was being asked to referee like JV2,
And then the second year
like 1A, which is, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but like he could add to a lot of levels, right?
I think it's common sense is the answer.
Some sort of like, hey, you can do this kind of thing. Is that what you're saying? Like
So-
jump him into varsity games right away?
one solution, and this is an option as of
yeah.
to date, is you can have your coaches, like your assistant coaches, could take a 15-minute course online and could referee some lower level games in the event they want to make more money. Obviously on dates where their team's not playing or your team's not playing, that is an option. Yeah.
Schedule.
I
like,
saw a lot of
schedule-wise.
eyebrows being raised. So like, let's just like, that's the first thing. I think that's the first time you guys have all heard this. I'm assuming just by the reactions. Again, there's the YouTube plug, but like, explain what you're thinking. Dewey, let's.
I'll referee every JV game for Centennial all day long if they're paying me. I'll referee every one of them. I will referee the JV and freshman game, and then I'll coach the varsity game. I'm good with that.
You're there anyways, so.
I'm there anyways.
Uh-huh.
It's an incredible paycheck, incredible home record.
Yeah.
We'd never lose.
Another PK.
Wasn't even in the box.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we might be at the point where we give some predictions for next year. Blake, what do you think? Do you have any more issues you'd like to bring up?
No, that works, but they have to talk for longer than 60 seconds.
They must be required.
Let's get
What
detailed.
other topics
And
they could touch on
Here's
if
what
they don't
I
wanna
like. I
talk
always
about?
like this one. Before we get there, let's go around the table. Each person gets to ask the table a question, like not somebody specific, but like, hey, here's a question I have. You guys all get to do it.
What's your favorite holiday?
There you go. That's fine, Jimmy. So guess what, Jimmy? Since you're outspoken, you get to ask the first question.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
Lead from the front, not from the back.
All right. What's everyone's like third favorite reptile? Top three.
Top 3. I got my top 2 down, but torn.
Iguana.
Komodo dragon.
You speak up. I said iguana. You said what?
Komodo dragon.
Okay. What's
Yep.
Sander? Sander.
Snake.
Duex.
Gecko.
So can you name a reptile, Carlos?
Yeah.
Leland. The academic.
Salamander.
Carlos, your turn. Blake, you got to come up with one.
I blanked out. What's the question? What are we doing?
Jimmy asked what your third favorite reptile was.
Crocodile.
Is that a reptile? Okay. Next.
Blake's going alligator.
No, I'm gonna go blue tongue gecko.
Okay, Marcus, do you have
All right,
anything?
make it
you-
for real though. All right, Varnum, come on, give us something like soccer related, just to ask the table.
Yeah,
We're calling you on this. Everybody's on the spot.
No, that's fine. Tryouts. How many days?
And how do you conduct them?
No, just days. Because I've heard different things. Conducting, everyone's got their own thought. Everyone's got their own process. But I'm a 2-day guy. I'll do some small-sided stuff the first day. I'll do a little bit bigger on the second day. Fortunately, though, I don't have 130 guys to potentially decipher and pick through. So I've got decent amount of guys, but I also have a good feel of the guys. But it's getting to that calling point for some of the bigger guys. But for everyone, I'm just really curious. What's the tryout look like?
Sander.
Last year we had 3-day just because I didn't know a lot of the guys, and things like that. And so it just made it a little tougher. And a few guys didn't come day 1, day 2. And I knew there was a few extra guys coming day 3. So I want to make it legit for everybody. So, but this year, definitely 2. Because
Yeah.
like you said, I know most of them. We're at open gyms, just watching and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
2 would be my.
Leland.
2 days of like formal tryouts, what I'm calling tryouts, but
They're trying out right now,
Yeah, I've
aren't
been
they?
narrowing it down through open gyms, and then also like we just get wild cards. The kids come in like it's kind of. Last year I had kids pulled up from JV mid-season, so I have to keep it open. Like I never call it a final team throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
That's cool. Jim, what time do you guys train?
We go either 6 to 7:15, or we'll go 7 to like 8:15
AM.
p.m. I'm a big believer of training when you are expecting your guys to play, right? So getting into that time frame. Yeah, we will bump it up. We will. I mean, well, the good news about the fourth class.
Never been to the state final, so they don't have to worry about that. So I'm a dragon, Jimmy, but that was a dag.
Shut your mouth. You shut your mouth.
Jack, what time do you guys train?
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah.
We also have to deal with track. So track has the turf until 5. My younger levels start at 5, and then the varsity starts at 6:30 and goes 6:30 to 8 roughly.
Why?
Why what?
I don't know. Blake just said, ask him why.
Why at 6:30? Like, why do you? I'm just
Because you
curious.
said
why
track,
do you, give
you
that-
just said it.
I know, but younger guys go at 5.
Yep.
The younger teams.
They got
Why do they
90
go at
minutes.
5 instead of the varsity?
Well, most of them can't drive,
Fair enough.
so
They have to just hang out.
they stay at school from 4 to 5, and that tends to cause some problems every once in a while. But we can't get onto the turf until 5.
Leland?
I mean, if you guys just practice on like really crappy pieces of grass, you don't have to worry about
You can
sharing
do it
with
whenever.
them. Yeah, it's really easy actually. We just have to share with the geese that like our field. So we have 2 fake coyote decoys we put out on our practice field to keep it free of goose crap. They go missing though a lot.
Well, yeah.
I don't have one, so like,
You have to have one that you can ask something terrible like reptilian things, but
okay. Eligibility is the biggest concern of my program. What's the biggest thorn in everyone's side at your program? Like, what's the biggest thing you spend the most time thinking about and working towards? I kind of changed the question there. What's the hardest part of your program that you struggle with?
The thorn.
answer it.
It's a good question. Can I think about it?
I gotta ponder.
People don't like talk. They're watching. They don't like to see us just.
Go ahead.
sitting
Oh, really?
I'll say it.
We can always cut. We can just like cut it out. We can just cut it. And then,
Yeah,
like,
let's. I'm gonna say it, and then we should edit it.
Okay,
Cool,
that's fine.
Right. And you know what? They
No.
won't listen. Hell. Show choir. Dang it! Did I say that? I said show choir.
Show choir's that's a Johnson Dragons thing, though.
It
Blake
is-
used to do
it
show choir.
is just-
Truth.
It is punch drunk, and it is a big thing. And my biggest issue is not the whole thing, but like, God, cut this out. All right, whatever.
No, absolutely not.
Show choir, in my humble opinion, asks their participants to adapt to everything, and I'm not so sure they allowed their participants to adapt, or they. I'm gonna try this. I think they ask other coaches to adapt to them, and I'm not so sure they allow
It's not a two-way street.
themselves to adapt to other events. So, show choir.
Marcus,
Do you want me to jump on the show choir?
is that a thing?
It's not quite a thing.
Okay,
I
so
wouldn't
then
say
what's
that
your
it's as
problem?
big. Like, it's not a thing. I think that track is one of our things. Like, if you're thinking of like scheduling and having to deal with players and multi activities.
If they were so busy in the show choir.
We've had some injuries.
Okay, sorry.
So track is like a thing that I allow for multi activities. Kids want to get involved in track, that's fine. And so just dealing with that, but it's a little easier. They're on the same turf and same track as we are, so it's like they finish with us, they go to track, or they finish with track, they go to us. So it's not quite the same thing. But definitely I think that one thing that emulates or kind of mirrors the college game, we've talked about how high school is similar to the college game, or athletes sharing activities and stuff like that, but then having to make sure that coaches are flexible, working with each other. I think that's a massive thing. And then understanding that it's we have one person in the activities role or the activities director role, but sharing the time of the track, sharing the time of the turf, sharing the time of this, that, and the other. That's a difficult thing that I try to manage, or try to manage. At least I'll definitely put emphasis on try, just because there's so much going on. For me, my thorn, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I got two things. I guess the first one would be getting time in the stadium. We didn't practice once in the stadium last year. So luckily we have the VSA Timberline fields, and that's where we practice because of the time I want to practice at. So a little lucky in that aspect, but again, we don't get to practice in the stadium, so it's a little different. We play there all the time and just play games there. So
you're training on grass and playing on turf.
we're training on turf.
Oh, you are. Okay.
Actually, VSA Timberline does have turf fields, if you didn't know that. Yeah, so it's a good thing to know.
I have not. I don't visit the.
Plug. Yeah.
The second one would be just the organizing transportation to and from fields and things like that. And some kids that, if they go home, they have a later practice and things like that, how they get back and things like that, trying to organize how they get there. Because obviously attendance is a big thing for us too. And so just to get them there and have them participate and things like that. So there's a few kids that missed quite a few days last year, but I don't want to penalize them because obviously they can't drive. They don't have access to that. So that'd be the other one.
Yeah.
It's tricky business. Ryan?
I mean, even though we're in a suburb school, I always concentrate on grades. I have a rule that if you're ineligible because of grades, you will never make varsity. So we try and put student before athlete. And then this year, my biggest challenge has been the schedule, the new conference alignment.
Yeah.
I think everybody at this table, except for probably Jim and North, are probably short games. They're really hard to get at this moment.
What's the new conference alignment? Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
So Des Moines Public Schools and
Yes, I know that.
Fort Dodge, Marshalltown, they all went to their own conference. Well, their conference is huge now, so it takes up most of their dates that they can do. Where our conference, the CIML, got smaller, so we had less conference games, and it's becoming a struggle to fill those dates with anybody, let alone a 4A school or a 3A school.
Is playing the same school twice? What's the thought of that?
It is an option.
Okay, I didn't know if that's
It
like
is an option.
not a good thing or not. Okay.
Like do a little home and away.
Yeah, but I mean, like this year,
Love a home
and
away.
you've
love
seen
it.
it in other sports, the CIML has become a buzzsaw. So, how many of us really want to play each other
Yeah.
twice in a year and maybe get 2 losses that'll affect your state tournament seeding?
Just a precursor, that all conference
right,
meeting
right.
that's ahead of us in 2 months, that's going to be a 6-hour ordeal. Like that is.
I can't
coming.
wait. It's a blast.
I bet Carlos is talkative during those meetings.
Then we get an answer.
Leland, talk. No, hey, Carlos, you don't like to talk often, so go ahead. And then Leland, give your opinion on the other side of it after he's done.
You want him to talk?
Who goes first?
I'm going to go off topic, though, so Leland. go
Well,
ahead.
you're more than welcome to talk as much as you want.
Well, just in responding to the question, I guess periodization is probably the one thing I struggle with the most. So you're going from game to practice to practice to game, and in some cases, game to game to practice.
And so usually after a game, you're doing like it's a little more of a cool down, it's a recuperating session, and then a lot of times before a game, you're like preparing for the next game in theory, right? So like to
You got to be
Right, that's what I'm
economical.
saying. So
You
you're,
got
like,
to be very
constantly-
economical in how you do all those things. So
yeah, but I'm just saying it's constant, like you're
constant,
every day.
and then beyond that, it's injuries to players. It's players doing dual sports. I mean, in our case, we had kids that were bouncing around between these academies. So all of a sudden, we're trying to like build a team, be cohesive, and be on the same page. And yet, we have to kind of deal with all these. I wouldn't call them nuisances, but they are problematic.
Yeah.
So you don't want to just you lose a game, and the last thing you want to do is just run your guys in the ground. That's old school. I've gone away from that. But you also need to be understanding of what you need to get out of players. And certain players play a lot in a game, other players don't. So you have to be really smart about how you build that into your practice plan, because there's players that need to get training if they don't play in a game, and they need to work harder than others. So it's just putting all that together. You have to go day to day for the most part. You can't really plan in advance for all of that.
I can go back to the conference discussion. So I think it's a good move for the Des Moines schools. We saw our football team at North have tremendous success. I mean, relative tremendous success this year. Due in part to that, our girls basketball team had a great season and a ton of fun. So I think in general that move was positive for us. But yeah, like our of our 15 games, I think 10 or 11 of them are decided right away. So we're picking 4 or 5 other games outside of the tournaments. And yeah, we just don't have a lot of time to play other CIML teams now.
Any players to watch? I'm just gonna throw that out there. What? I just want to know. Did we skip somebody?
That'll be the last one. Carlos is up for a question. Let's not let him get out of this.
He just talked so much before,
Absolutely
I
not.
just like totally forgot.
Is your Uber outside?
I mean,
Come on now.
I don't know what.
Close to an hour here.
Yeah, come on now. This is gonna get views.
Carlos, please go ahead.
All 6 of them.
I'm gonna watch it 6 times.
So
Carlos
my
isn't gonna
question
watch
to
it.
everyone would be, as far as managing your lower levels and getting appropriate number of games for them, and making sure the matchups are what they need to be. Like I don't think we do enough to make sure that it's proper environment for those players. I know for myself, we struggle. We're gonna have likely 4 to 5 teams under our varsity team, like probably Jimmy will. You're gonna have probably multiple. So then there's only so many games, compounded by the problem with now our school's only getting so many games. Those players may not get much of anything. They're going to train all the time. They're only going to get a few games potentially. So that ruins the experience for those players. You don't want to cut. You want kids to experience a game. You want them to experience being a part of a high school team. So I'm wondering how everybody manages their lower levels.
Marcus, why don't you start?
I mean,
so you're close to the mic.
Yeah, so we have 3 teams: varsity, JV1, JV2. That's kind of how we structure it. And so fortunately, we don't have to try to find a game for JV2A
So
or
you're the only one
JV2B,
with not this
JV.
problem.
Yeah,
Just got
right.
3
So like
teams.
we
Okay, we
we
don't
just
have
have
to hear from
60% or 60
Give the mic
players.
to
Yeah. So
Sander.
But how many games do they have?
they'll have. I don't know for sure, but I think it's around 8 games. So I mean, I'm definitely still advocating
a
for
full season.
I would
Is it
I
not?
would say, hey,
They only get 60 minutes.
Northwest, do you want to play
Kids on the roster.
twice? But then we also have we've got a like a 9th grade or JV2 tournament that'll get added into it. So definitely all for adding games, no doubt. But I don't have as much to tackle in terms of, holy cow, now I got to get.
Issues with the quality. So what they get from their experience playing. So are they getting into a game where it's comparable, it's a good matchup, or are they getting into games where it's like not really a game and they're not getting much out of it?
Sometimes it's tough to tell because maybe we are facing the Waukee Northwest JV2 team or freshman team or whatever, but we don't know who it is, or the Valley, because I know last year it was their first game was, I think, against Valley was for JV2, and it was like this is Valley's top JV2 team, and it was tough for our guys, and so that's no fun for anyone. And so it's like, okay, we got to sort out if we are going to be playing this school, how do we make sure, yeah, it's a valuable time. So that's definitely something to consider, but not as much as what you guys have to balance.
How do you do that?
I mean, one, I probably got to text the coaches and be like, hey, who are we playing today? How do we manage this? Is there any shifting that we can do? Is there any kind of concerns that we should be aware of? Or, okay, we're playing today. Do you have another open date? Is there another open date for another team?
Are your JV2 teams strictly freshmen, or is it just?
No, it's just JV2. It's just tiered.
That's tough as a parent.
Yeah,
You want
right.
to go watch your
Right.
child play,
Mhm.
and you don't find out until
Mm-hmm.
the day before or the day of, like, oh, we're playing, or he's going to or not going to play.
Well, and honestly,
30 and
I don't even know if they know that, hey, Valley has 6 teams. Ankeny has 3 teams. That might just be their vision of what every high school program has. They don't understand that there's programs with 100+ kids, and so they don't really get the fact that, okay, we could be playing a team that's a little bit more comparable to our JV team, which is hard, especially when, okay, now we're walking off the field getting 10-0'd, which is just no fun, and that doesn't grow the game. And so that's something that is definitely a struggle for sure. But it's, hey, now how do I reach out to some of these guys around the table? Can we get multiple games with boom, boom, boom?
So you multiply that by 2 from 60 to 130, 90. How do you do it? What do you do?
Just try to reach out to other.
Like, how many teams do you actually have?
Last year we had 4 JV teams
Plus a varsity team.
plus varsity team, and I'm sure that'll happen again this year. And again, it's going to little different tournaments. We entered like an ADEL tournament this year. We entered a Valley tournament. Trying to find little tournaments here and there that we can get those guys into and things like that. But like you said, I mean, it's tough doing matchups because my JV2 team might not be the same level as your JV2 team and down the line. And so it is something we all have to communicate about and talk about, because then too, we do enter some of the JV tournaments and maybe I don't put my top JV team in it and they just go and get annihilated like last year at Valley. So then my kids end up getting red cards, and then we got to deal with all that stuff because of the frustration that's going on. And so, I mean, it's a little frustrating, but it's what we have to deal with when we can't cut either. So, I mean, that brings up that same point again, the quality experience. What experience are they having? So,
We're gonna. This will be a first year of this new conference, and it's going to be a little bit unique for us because we do have a large program within our conference. So we will have 3 levels, whereas we're going to Waterloo East that doesn't have JV. We're going like Mason City, Fort Dodge usually only have one JV, so we're gonna have to kind of learn from what some of the other bigger programs have done around it. I think
you do JV1, JV2, or freshman JV?
JV1, JV2,
Gotcha.
yeah, and we
Does anybody do freshmen anymore? Or is that not a thing? You do.
yeah.
What do you do with the freshmen, Carlos, that are ready to play varsity level?
Sorry, Leland.
No, yeah, sorry.
There's usually just a handful of
Right.
them at most, and it just depends year after year. So this year we may not have a lot, but I don't know yet
Yeah.
when we get there. But for the most part, if they don't play varsity, then they're playing JV2, and JV2 is all freshmen.
Yeah.
So like we've gone in and played against the Fort Dodge varsity guys that aren't playing a lot of minutes. And
But
it's
they're
like-
18 years old and they're
like,
big boys.
big
Yeah.
boys, and
Uh-huh.
the guys are like, okay, you got to play a little bit.
Right.
Hopefully they get protected somewhat, but it could be a problem. So I might have to change gears because there's some people that have JV3 teams.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm like Matt Dreyer's telling me, I'm like, what the heck's a JV3 team?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
I'll show you.
so that's the thing is we all have to be consistent in how we do it because I could put a JV3 team together too, but I didn't even know we were going to JV1, JV2 to be honest with you, until they started designating that, and it's great, but it'd be nice to know. It'd be nice to be able to have other groups that are similar. Again, we need to be mindful of that, and we need to collaborate more. But it's hard when you get in the season. Like,
Yeah.
once the schedule's done, it's done.
Is that
Right.
association driven, or is that just like organic? It sounds like
There was
it's
a
organic.
CIML rule saying you had to label your teams this name. Like you had to call it varsity, JV1, JV2. Because for the longest time it was, we put our freshmen on that JV2 team.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us have freshmen building schools that are separate from their other ones, so it made sense. And obviously there's a huge difference between a 14-year-old and a 17, 18-year-old, right? Like that's a big gap. That rule probably came out like 2018-ish. A lot of the bigger schools, I think, continued to adopt the I'm going to keep our freshmen together unless they are varsity ready. We made the switch to have our freshmen play on JV1. And if I'm being dead honest with you guys, it was to hopefully help manage our numbers. If we could have a freshman play JV1, maybe the writing would be on the wall for some of the juniors and sophomores and seniors that weren't on that team that like, hey, here's where you are in kind of the pecking order. It hasn't helped.
I was gonna say, how'd that work for you?
Yeah. We're back to square one.
I have a really good JV2 team.
But I will share just a quick story with you. Last year we have 5 teams, whatever, so to speak. And so we set up with Valley, who tends to have the same numbers with us. We set up a JV1, JV2, JV3 playing date. And both sides, and this is nobody's fault, it's probably my fault, both sides got the order completely wrong. And my Dragons got boat raced in every game. And I'm getting phone calls and emails like, yeah, I'm going to apologize tomorrow for that. It's just a miscommunication, but at the same time, it was a wasted evening for everybody involved. And we thought here we had something set up that to give these guys an ample playing opportunity, and we really just kind of made a mockery of it just because it was a miscommunication. Yeah. We have varsity, and we did our damnness to get 17 games. That goes back to the conference alignment. I was proactive about this in July because I knew this was going to be an issue.
Insider information.
I was.
Presidente.
Yeah. We are labeled as the naughty 9. I don't know if you guys realize that. JV1 has 16 games. JV2 13, JV3 has 8, and then this year is our first year we have an intramural pool. So these guys will not play other competition. They will play in 3 to 4 games, a round robin tournament for 3 dates. And here's the other thing I want to touch on, and I don't know, I guess this is my serious question for you guys is how do you guys balance jerseys throughout your program? Because our JV3 team, our 4th final team, they are wearing jerseys from 2013. And that's if they have survived, right? So they are wearing 10-year-old uniforms, and they're our last team. And we have 94 wearable, presentable uniforms in our entire program? So that is my, I guess, serious question to the group.
Non-serious answer. I have my 2002 Dragon uniform.
You need to turn that in.
Does it
I
fit?
can give it to
Please
somebody.
return that.
There's no way you graduated without paying that fine.
Yeah, he did. It's Blake.
We don't have that issue, Jim. We're still hoping to have 3 teams of 20. As we get uniforms, they get passed down.
Yeah.
So if you need some Centennial jerseys, we might be able to sell you some.
It's a shame. It's a shame that you can't open and roll.
Are you guys on like a 2-year cycle though? Is that for uniforms? 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uniform cycles, yeah.
Carlos, how'd you do it? You had to buy like 65 uniforms, right?
We bought enough right now to get us through this second year, and then maybe not enough for next year. We'll see. But don't you know the Nike rep?
We all know a guy. We all know a guy.
We all
You know of him.
He makes really nice white T-shirts for Jim that are 100% cotton, by the way.
Okay, it was 105 degrees that day.
Look beautiful on you.
We have no answer to the jersey. Jerseys were huge last year for us. So, yeah, we had kids. It was hilarious because didn't know they were a good player. So they got put on JV2 wearing like a 1998 Kelmy with a collar. And then like, wow, that kid can play. Come play varsity in your
Did they pop
98. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Then they know. Then they know what's up.
Yeah. So it was pretty funny to watch like pretty serious varsity competition with this kid wearing the 98 Kelmy, and then you got to like awkwardly take your first bench player and be like, hey, you got to give that kid the real jersey because this isn't okay. So yeah, this year we got new jerseys, which is awesome. But now I'm probably going to be doing laundry
Kit
for
man.
my team. So
I know
yeah,
what that's like.
yeah. So it's going to be interesting because last year it was quickly discovered that we got a lot of kids without like easy access to laundry, and so some of our jerseys just got trashed over the season. So we'll be doing laundry at North High School this year, which is an extra, probably should be a stipend for coaches.
What do you guys do about boots and shin guards? Because I'm sure that not every single, all 85 kids.
Yeah, we got healthy donations last year. We're going to put out the call for donations again, both actual equipment and money, so we can purchase stuff for kids. Yeah, I think we probably bought 20 pairs of cleats last season.
So I just have to find it hard to believe that, Carlos, you don't deal with at least like one kid who doesn't have boots if you've got 120 some odd kids. How do you guys deal with it? Or Sandra, where you're saying you've got like kids showing up in Crocs, like how do you deal with that? Anybody donate cleats to the Waukee schools?
Well, I mean, we got kids within the program, right? They've grown out of their shoes and things like that.
Yeah,
They have
awesome.
them sitting at home. So I just asked a few of the kids that I know that
Sure.
buy boots a lot and things like that, and they're like, "Sure, bring them and
Nice.
use them." So that's how we've done it. I think we need to do a little better job of doing it here moving forward. Just seeing what I saw at the start of open gyms.
Yeah.
I have like 5 pairs of cleats in my trunk right now that people have just said, "Hey, we don't use these anymore. Can you give them to somebody who's going to use them?" Things like that. So it's been helpful.
We've got teachers, counselors that have reached out and helped kids. Really, I mean, they're coming out of the woodwork. It seems like so.
That's cool.
It's a bonus. We like having kids take part, and then people that are helping out. We're not going to be short of people wanting to help in any way, whether it's our kids or other kids. They'll help out as much as they can. So fortunately, we are in a good spot. And if we can help others, we'll please reach out. We'll do what we can.
Love it, Brack. Give the last one on a good note.
Ryan's gonna answer the question about uniforms.
Oh, sorry.
I want to hear this.
Carlos.
He's left you with what?
Carlos left us with a lot of uniforms, to be honest with you. So all the dry fit and things like that, he's done a great job through the years.
Nice. Shout
Getting
out
those
Carlos.
back. It definitely, for sure. And so obviously JV guys need to buy their own shorts, and we do have shorts for them too, but for the most part, buy their own shorts and their own socks and things like that. But Carlos has done a great job of doing that, so I think I may have lost some this past year, but I want to blame it on Carlos still.
Went quick.
So Blake, how many jerseys have you stolen over the years from teams you've played for?
Let's get to the real question, man. Predictions. Here we go. Should we start with?
Well, that's okay. So
Dodging the
here's
bullet.
Yeah, absolutely.
so you can answer. You have to answer both questions, which would be name a player throughout the state on any team of any level that you're excited about. It could be because they were less good one year and they've improved a ton, or they just might be like a total stud.
How about not on your own team? Boom.
Not on your own team, and then also give us just a prediction for where your squad will be in June on whatever date. And we will go oldest to youngest.
Who's oldest over here?
Carlos?
Carlos.
Ooh, angels don't age.
So uncomfortable right now. I love it.
Nobody heard what Jimmy's comment was, so I don't think it was into the microphone. It was your best comedic moment of the night.
One player, is that what we said?
On another squad that you're like interested to see how they do.
I can't think of one. I like the threesome at Centennial. I think those boys are going to be exciting. It's going to be, according to Brian, will be high-scoring games, so that'll be fun.
Who are those three?
So Andrew Heckenleibel, Ty Duax, and Rashidi Shishwani.
Very good.
Those are boys playing at a high clip right now, so it'll be fun to watch them play. Andrew's committed already to SLU, so as a junior, just imagine you're going to a big school and it's already kind of determined and you can just relax, seemingly. So those three. And
then prediction for the Northwest Wolves for June. Approximately, where will you be?
I'm not answering the question.
Whoa. Cliffhanger. Hey-o.
You've never answered this. You give us a coach speak. Just say something like you do every year.
We're going to do better than we did last
I'm
year.
going to abstain.
Played the fifth.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, my player, I'm going to go with Jackson Kirsch. Very few of you probably know of
See
him.
the Marion kid?
He is the Marion kid. He's playing at a really high clip right now. He committed to Drake. I'm expecting with the competition he's playing at Marion, we're going to call it 70 goals from that kid this year. 70. Yeah, you heard it here.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. And as for in June, hopefully my front three, Carlos just said, are scoring lots of goals still.
Which will put you where?
You can actually answer the question.
Which will put you where?
Well, the goal every year is to bring home the big trophy.
Okay,
It's the goal every year.
So if they're doing well in June, you'll be
Hopefully picking up a big trophy.
okay. Thank you. All right,
This
Jimbo.
is interesting because you guys, Northwest beat Centennial last year, correct? In the semi.
Yep.
Okay.
Asterisks. But yep.
Jimbo, who's your player to watch?
Dude. I'll piggyback what's gone before
Oh,
it
come
and say,
on.
hey, I'm not done, boy. Chill. Hey, I got the three-headed monster here at Centennial. Obviously, I think everything's out about them. I'll go Cole Schragi. Schragi? Yeah, that's definitely a player to watch for
He's at Northwest.
Yeah, I actually like Carlos's squad. If I'm being honest with you, I'll go Kwaku for Ankeny. I don't know where you're gonna play him, but he's definitely.
What's his name?
That's good for us. Okay.
Yeah, Kwaku, shout out your striker this
He's
year.
just a one-namer? He's
No,
a Brazilian?
Kwaku Kortang.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like
No, he's a very solid center back. That is,
Okay.
yeah.
No, he's a center back. He's not a one-namer. Come on.
Yeah, Kafu.
No.
You have Bardacek back? No, he's not playing.
Not coming. Just Hillis.
So what about the Drags this year? Or you said we're not making a bet, so where are you guys going to be
We're
in
not
June?
making a bet.
Are you not going to be there?
So I'm gonna be honest with you guys. You guys ready for this? I pride myself on being realistic and not unbiased, but I honestly think we will have, and I'm gonna be careful here. I think we will have a better squad than last year. I do not know if we will do better than last year because 18-2 is severely difficult to top. Our schedule has undoubtedly strengthened, but I do like our group, and I feel like we have the potential to be a better soccer team than last year's squad. So chew on that.
I was gonna say, we might have to like ask you to stop talking. If we sit in silence, you'll keep telling us more. Marcus, tell us about the Hawks.
Oldest to youngest. I'm dating myself here, huh? Is that what it is? So Hawks, I don't know where we'll be come June. We don't have a no. Just let me get there. Let me get there.
First question is players to watch.
Players to watch. So definitely the other side of the town. Centennial boys, top 3 for sure. But
Who do you
then
like
I
the most
also.
out of those 3.
Oh man, out of those 3, I want them all playing a 6 and just hanging out, parking the bus a bit. That's what I want to see. But honestly, from a club aspect, there's a lot of good players that I'm excited to see, and excited to see how they kind of get plugged into their high school program, because that's just it's a different game. It's very similar. It's the same game that we're playing, but it's also different group, different role, and what that kind of brings out for
who's
certain
that
different players.
specifically that
So
you're
like Schragi, I'm very
Anybody
curious
other
to
than
see.
Schragi?
I like Rockney Carver. I like him a lot at Urbandale. JT Spalding at Northwest, if he can get healthy. I like see what Johnston can kind of spur up. But the club boys that I get to see basically every week, every day of every week almost, see what they can do in the high school year. That's exciting. June 1.
Don't let him off the hook, Ben. Pick on him because he's a younger one. We can't get
We
Carlos
got a
to get
prediction now.
something.
We need a prediction now.
Yeah. Prediction.
You're not going to make the state tournament this year, are you?
Prediction is we'll be practicing come June 1.
Okay, fair enough.
Who wins the Derby?
See if we're still playing, but we're practicing.
Who wins the Derby, Duax?
Off mic.
The goal is to win the Derby every year.
Oh yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
So if you ask me, we're going to win every year. Like Marcus is never going to win again.
Has he
And
ever?
I hope he says the same.
Has he
Yeah.
ever won?
Right.
Yes, he won last year.
Last year.
Darn.
Yeah. What is it? A 5-6, 6-5 final? Yeah. This year. No, this year though.
this year.
Yeah. I think we're gonna.
Kwaku up top, maybe.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Okay.
Sander?
Oh, boy. I know Jimmy said this, and so did Marcus, but I think Cole Schragi is going to be kind of one of those players to watch, obviously. You play him up front, play him in the back. It's kind of your Swiss Army knife, if you will, as far as players and things like that. You mentioned JT Spalding, which we watch him in the club, and again, if he's healthy, he's really rapid and can change a game as well. But yeah, obviously a 3-headed monster over in Ankeny over there at Centennial. So I don't know. Owen Duff might be another one. Dark horse, center back, big, tall, strong kid that is very respectable in the back. So
Warriors in June? Warriors in June, where are they going to be?
boy, man, that's a good question. We finished 500 last year, and I'd be excited to finish around there again this coming year. So, yeah.
Okay, so before Leland tells us, you can go ahead and pass it.
Derby. Give a Derby prediction for these two, too.
Okay, I'll consider that.
I'm going to get the DMPS one, too.
So everybody just named like the same guys, and so
They
I
all play on the same club team.
I understand that they're perhaps some of the best players in the state. But are there any like young players, a kid's name that we haven't heard in this conversation that like, or is it a school that is not at the like one of the biggest schools? Like, is there a kid at Hoover? Is there a
So
kid
I'm not gonna
in
toot-
Indianola or?
I'm not going to toot Ankeny's horn, but I think Dowling, just in general, is going to be an exciting group to watch this year.
Jackson Thielen.
No, they're a young
Okay,
group
fair
that
enough.
are kind of, yeah.
Johnny Foth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's his name? John. So you're saying to the
Johnny Foth, yeah.
Johnny Foth,
Sorry,
who is
but
a
he's a
freshman,
sophomore. Yep.
Any other young players? Nothing.
Lando.
Yeah, Lando Benj.
Lando
Yeah.
and Ankeny,
Lando
Mhm.
and Ankeny.
Dowling has Raymond and Jonathan as well, who
So
are
I haven't
both
heard-
sophomores as well.
So according to Aziz, there's some Tigers coming through. Anybody got any Tiger shout-outs for me?
Charlie Sheen.
Grady?
Preston up top.
Preston,
will be,
sure.
He'll have a good season, and then Grady running the show for him will
Mhm.
be solid as well.
Yeah.
I don't know any of these Tigers. Okay, so we got some young boys. You got a stud though, right? What's his name?
Don't say it.
Yeah, seriously.
Not until after spring break. Don't say it.
All right, we won't. But
just
Leland,
got
you
some
do have
good
you do
NIL
have
money.
you do have some good players, and you got one little stud that's like, I watch him play, like he's good, he's legit.
Manager as well. Like
You do, you have you. Do, who is that boy?
Which I'm
Your
not-
coach, the assistant manager.
The scribe.
What are we talking about right now?
All you, from your team that's played in the tournament, like they had a coach for every team, and it was a player on the team. We sat there with a clipboard, and he managed the squad, and he was yelling at the refs, and he was incredible.
Yeah. He'll be a starter for us actually.
He didn't even want to play. He was
he's
just
straight up
managing
just
the squad. It was incredible.
exactly. Like we had too many numbers, and he signed up late. So I was like, if you want to coach, and he got super into it. So it was pretty fun. Yeah. Yeah. No, he like came and huddled up with me several times wanting coaching notes. It was, yeah, I do think there's quite a bit of talent within DMPS schools that just like struggle to put a complete squad. Last year, the Hoover and East teams got really close to having that complete squad, and there's still a lot of talent on both those teams. Jose Balderas with East is probably the one I'd throw out there. He played kind of second fiddle with Freddie Munoz up top last year, but he's quite talented, and we'll be back for him. So, my own team, I take us at winning the Metro this year.
Ooh, I
yeah.
like this.
Finally, somebody at this table has
Finally.
some gall.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
As,
Yeah, seriously, dude, you're talking about your own kid.
yeah, we have more talent than I think showed last year. I think we'll be closer to 500 across our whole season, and hopefully better than that. But I was disappointed last year the DMPS team didn't make the state tournament. I hope one of us does this year. But I think there's kind of a equaling of the 5 DMPS schools this year. East and Hoover both graduated some key players, so it'll be kind of interesting to see who comes out of it.
Winning the Metro is a big deal.
Yeah.
Let's go north.
Yeah.
Since you're the only one that showed up, I like that.
Yeah, us and Lincoln both had kind of the down years, but the younger squads. So I think across the 5 schools, it'll be more competitive this year.
All right. I feel like we've subjected the crowd to long enough. Any final thoughts from anyone? Looking at the eyes, I'm getting a lot of looking down. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Good luck this season. Can't wait to see you on the sidelines. Hopefully, I can stay standing upright for all of those scenes. And thank you all.